Welcome to Spectacle on Television Nigeria. I am your host, Daniel Atai. Welcome to Spectacle on Television Nigeria. I am your host, Daniel Atai. NDDC and the regional development. Should we abandon regional development for the state within the regions to handle them? Citing the endemic and systemic corruption exposed in the Niger Delta Development Commission. Also, Lanre Atare opines that Nigeria has no reason to be poor nor be dependent on foreign economy or aid. He advocates for support in this administration's fight against corruption and institutional ineptitude. Meanwhile, Issa Sagi frowned at the Justice Salami-led panel investigating Magu. And if time permits us, we shall also be looking into Edo politics towards the Guba poll, whether it is going to be war without bloodshed, and what measure we are to put in place to avert physical conflict, as we are already observing the clash of the titans as the campaign begins. Welcome to Spectacle. I am Daniel Atai. We take a short break. Please stay tuned.
Is Television Nigerian, a broadcast network committed to serving you the very best in online and offline television programming. Situated in the serene environment of Guzape, Abuja FCT, TVN, as it is fondly called, caters to a wide variety of audience via carefully orchestrated mind-blowing programs in the areas of fashion, business, politics, entertainment, religion, movies, food and health, culture and lifestyle, events around the globe, sports and foreign news. Whatever your inclination, we've got you completely covered with programs like Issues of the Moment, The Patriot, Daybreak Nigeria, Matter Africa, TVN Business Time, Healthy Living, From the Cradle, Stay Inspired, Entertainment Gist, Movie Hour, Hits Paradise, among others. All designed to keep you thoroughly informed, entertained, at the edge of your seats and yearning for more. A tour around our domain will reveal a highly dedicated staff force and a state-of-the-art facility and equipment for high-definition quality broadcast, making our station your #1 choice in advertising your business and propagating your ideas. We are currently on NigComSat doing our test transmission for takeoff in the nearest future. Television Nigerian is located in Nigeria at Television Nigerian House, Guzape Hilltop Mansion, beside Guzape White House, Guzape Abuja FCT, and in the United Kingdom at 45 Ancient House, 48 Aerodrome Road, Beaufort Park, Colindale, London. For inquiries,
Welcome back. I have in the studio with me Alhaji Mamun Saleh. Alhaji Mamun Saleh is a political analyst and a social critic. Also in the studio is a spokesperson for the Niger Delta Rights Advocates, NDRA, Comrade Darlington Nwauju. Gentlemen, welcome to Spectacle.
Thank you very much.
Alhaji Mamun, this is your first time on Television Nigerian, and I think you also.
Yes.
All right. Before we begin with the first story, which is all about the NDDC, I watch your your presentation on the floor of the House of Representatives, where you were giving evidence of what transpired in the Niger Delta, the underdevelopment, and so on. And today you are here to expatiate on them, especially that commission, whether there is need for us to further continue in any regional development. And Alhaji, if you have anything to say about it on the course of the program, you will talk about that. And especially, while I brought you here, is the issue of Magu. Issa Sagi has said that Magu, the panel investigating Magu, he fought that panel and said that it is not supposed to be members of the Department of the State Security and so on, and that they are supposed to give him his evidence before his very self to prepare for his defense. And of course, you know the story making the rounds that about over 500 million were paid into a pastor's account on behalf of Magu. And the Edo crisis also. I know you are a renowned political analyst and a one-time campaigner, for both the administration now and the past. So once again, I say welcome, sir.
Thank you very much, Engineer Dan.
All right. We will take the first report on the Niger Delta development, especially as regards the corruption rocking that commission, as well as the take of a renowned political article writer, Lanre Atere, all the way from London, who opined that Nigeria has no reason to be poor if the leaders use the money or the funds to implement infrastructural projects and social amenities. Please, let's have a look at the first reportage. The Niger Delta Development Commission is a federal government agency established by Nigerian President Olusegun Obasanjo on June 5, 2000, with the sole mandate of developing the oil-rich Niger Delta region of Nigeria. The NDDC headquarters is in Port Harcourt, Rivers State, and in September 2008, President Umaru Yar'Adua announced the formation of a Niger Delta Ministry, with the Niger Delta Development Commission to become a parastatal under the ministry. One of the core mandates of the commission is to train and educate the youths of the oil-rich Niger Delta regions to curb hostilities and militancy, while developing key infrastructure to promote diversification and productivity. Now, the acting managing director before the Senate investigation into the commission, and who still remain the acting managing director of the commission, is Kemebradi Kumu Ponde, and the Minister of the Niger Delta Affairs is Senator Godswill Akpabio. An article by Lanre Atere from Tamworth in faraway United Kingdom. And it said, both in human and natural resources, and should by no means have any dealings with poverty and the level of underdevelopment that has bedeviled her over the years, had these resources been properly harnessed and judiciously used for the country. Unfortunately, the perennial insincerity of purpose and quest for power, its leaders whose avarice and massive looting of our commonwealth across all strata has put the country permanently on its knees. The levels of poverty, deplorable state of infrastructure across the country, particularly in the Niger Delta area, is a shame and a source of anguish. The Nigerian economy is largely dependent on oil revenues from the region, yet the level of poverty gaping that of basic amenities and underdevelopment is outstanding. It is instructive to note that it is indeed systemic and caused by people of the region who, when saddled with the responsibility of developing their people and land, work with their local and foreign cohorts to the detriment of the downtrodden of the Niger Delta region. The creation of Niger Delta Development Commission (NDDC) in 2000 was well intended towards speedy development programs and projects that would have a direct impact on the people of that region. Sadly, this noble intention and good purpose have become a mirage because of the mismanagement of resources allocated to the commission by these people. The perpetrators indulge in disgraceful acts of looting that makes one wonder if they need money in the hereafter. They have turned NDDC into a conduit to deprive the region of the expected development and progress it deserves and dearly needs. The cancerous disease of corruption amongst our leaders is sadly incurable considering their gluttonous desires. How could one explain the humongous amount of money being paid out by NDDC even when the commission is under intense scrutiny for financial infractions? The system needs a total cleanup. All revelations, allegations, investigation, and proofs of corruption cases going on is a good omen for the country so far. They are pursued to logical conclusion without favor or fairness to anyone. The prose by the National Assembly has opened can of worms. The melodramas, belligerent attacks, propaganda, and shenanigans by the major actors of the Niger Delta Ministry, even including Minister Godswill Akpabio and management of the NDDC, are irresponsible and marks of failure of leadership. Leaders of the National Assembly must not use its oversight authority to cover the acts of its members that have been inducted in the sleazy deeds of the NDDC. There is no gainsaying that the NAS, to a very large extent, has not covered itself in glory. To regain its sanctity, the leadership of both chambers must ensure that there are no sacred cows. The spirit of coordinated lootings and its blatant executions across government institutions, despite President Buhari's resolute efforts in fighting corruption, is dreadful, and the good people of this country must rise up in unison to support the efforts of this government and all anti-corruption agencies to fight the menace to a standstill.
Welcome back. That was a double reportage as regard what is happening in the NDDC and the endemic or systemic corruption rocking the country that have halted for over 4 decades the development of the country. And like I said, with me in the studio is Alhaji Mamoun Saleh and Comrade Darlington Nwajo. Comrade, I like to begin with you because you are from the Niger Delta region and I have watched your report, explicit presentation before the House on what is happening at the NDDC. Now, the Minister of Niger Delta Affairs, Senator Godswill Akpabio, indicted some lawmakers, both past and partly present, of corruption, contract scam in the NDDC, that is the Niger Delta Development Commission. Persons like James Manager, Peter Nwabochi, Senator Matthew Orogide, former Senator Samuel Anyagu, who got almost, and Nicholas Mutu, who got 74 contract. Now, with all this expose rocking that Niger Delta development, could you say that the commission
is what continuing or dissolution is what is supposed to happen now?
Well, thanks for inviting me once again.
Thank you.
I want to start by saying that we need to understand the fact that there were basically two planks upon which the NDDC was set up, and we must have to appreciate those two, as also have to look at it independently, even though they are interwoven. Number one, the issue of to address government neglect. That was the number one reason why the NDDC was set up. And number two, to checkmate
militancy.
No, not militancy. To checkmate environmental degradation.
Okay.
Now, this is an area that has suffered from so many years of environmental exploitation and exploration, and so the concomitant effect, the adverse effect on our environment had to be checkmated, and the only way to do that is to get a special purpose agency that will see to environmental remediation. And you would agree with me that issues of environmental remediation, as we have seen presently with the setting up of a sister agency like HIPREP to help the environment, to help nourish our environment, it will take another 25 to 50 years to get the Niger Delta environment to its optimum in terms of having to do agricultural and farm production. And so, that said, addressing the neglect, so many years of neglect by successive governments, was the number one reason why that agency was set up. And also, that also is the reason why you cannot compare the Niger Delta Development Commission with any other regional development commission, or the argument, because there are other regions, there are other zones of this country that are arguing or making arguments or canvassing or lobbying for the setting up of their own zonal or regional agency.
Yeah.
Now, the NDDC is special, is different, because of the issues that has to do with the peculiarity of that environment. And also the fact that we must understand, and Nigerians must appreciate the fact that the Niger Delta region, the Delta region, is not only found in Nigeria. There is a Delta in the United States of America.
Is that a peculiarity?
That is exactly what I'm talking about. And when you have such peculiarities, governments all over the world, where you find such peculiarities, always pay special attention to those environments.
Okay.
Now, what now makes it more special is the fact that God and nature has bestowed upon that peculiarity natural resources of crude, which has sustained the economy of this nation for more than 4 decades, more than 5 decades.
Even.
And so it is only natural for you to think of how to encourage, how to, pay back a region that has sustained the economy. More than 95% of our GDP comes from oil and oil-related resources. And so it will be foolhardy for anybody to argue against the setting up of such special purpose agency to help develop that region. Now, coming back to your question, the truth is that the region has suffered from bad management of these resources, and it's evident in the plethora of commissions, because this is not the first. The NDDC is not the first commission or agency that was set up to develop the Niger Delta. In fact, it was the UNPADEC that was dissolved that culminated in the setting up of the NDDC. And so the region has suffered poor management. It has suffered from poor management of its own resources by its own people.
Exactly.
And it's evident. Yes.
That is.
No, because
by its own people.
Because we must be patriotic enough to speak truth, no matter whose us is God.
Yeah.
The resources, no matter how small, that has come to the region, how prudent has it been managed? You know, in 2008, I'll shock you with this information, or I'll remind you because it was all over the media. In 2008, we once had the chairman of the NDDC, Ambassador Sam Edem, who wasted 1 billion naira on African magic. 1 billion. And that's the tragedy of a region. And today we've heard of another can of worms being opened about the agency, how monies have been wasted and all of that. And so maybe that is why people now begin to ask questions about the propriety of continuing with the agency. And for me, I am not, and I will never be in support of scrapping the agency. Okay. Because it has a purpose, it has a reason why it was set up, and that reason we must rework and rejig the agency to meet its obligations. Anywhere in the world, when governments set out with policy frameworks, from time to time, there must be evaluation, there must be assessment.
Okay, now
for people to do feedback. Our problem is that you set out in this country, you have a policy framework, and you feel you can just dump it on that region or dump it on the people, and that is all. We've given it to them. No, I think that government should take a second look at the reason why the NDDC was set up, and also do performance measurement. When that performance measurement is done, the government will now find ways to better deliver have better service delivery for the people, because the end point for the setting up of that agency is the people, is about the people, reaching out to the people. So far, what we have on ground, that agency has not been able to do proper service delivery, and that is why we are where we are.
They've not been able to do proper service delivery. Now, would you say that the rejig you're talking about, should we go back to the fundamental that the Niger Delta region have states that made up the Niger Delta region? Now, should the states now be independent of the commission, so that the derivation being paid from the federal government, the state governors could manage and ensure that this fund are utilized for the infrastructural and social amenities within that region?
Now, that argument has also been poo-pooed, because it will amount to punching into the air if anybody suggests that the funding of the NDDC should be withdrawn and sent to the various states. I say so because if you look at the 13%, there is a 13% derivation outside of the normal NDDC federal allocation that other states get. Yes. Now, there is a 13% derivation which is controlled, managed, supervised by the various state governors in the Niger Delta region. And I can assure you that what comes in as revenue is not also being justified. There are issues of corruption, endemic corruption. And so I wouldn't want to see it, or I wouldn't want to describe it as a regional curse. I would want to see it as a Nigerian challenge, a Nigerian problem, because corruption, to my mind, is a national issue. And so, because it's a national issue, we must begin to look at it as a Nigerian problem. And so we must proffer solutions to it. And I repeat again that we cannot pull out the funding that the NDDC gets and hand it over to the various states, because it will also end up in the same pot of corruption. And so, to avoid issues like this, the best we can do is to rework the agency, make it to be service oriented, and it must deliver service to the people. How do we do this? My suggestion is that the president and the presidency and the government of Nigeria should look at the Establishment Act, the act that established the NDDC. There are infractions presently, as we currently have. There are infractions to that act. Section 2 of that act talks about the governing board. Section 10 of the act talks about the management committee. Section 11 talks about the governor's advisory council. And section 21 talks about the presidential monitoring committee. These are the 4 governance or operational structures that were set out deliberately in order to make sure that the internal workings, that there are checks and balances with the workings of the NDDC. And when these structural or governance structures are deliberately jettisoned, of course you are going to see what you are seeing now. In fact, the corruption there has become endemic. You can even cut it with a knife.
So you are blaming it on the federal government?
I am, of course, because everything,
or the commission.
Of course, everything rises and falls on leadership. Who is the appointing authority? It was the president that appointed those who are there. And so, if you are making appointments, you have to go beyond certain. You mustn't always be politically correct in order to salvage a national situation. Because what we have on our hands is a national situation. Let me say this. I carried out a research in the late 1990s. I carried out a research on the post-impact monitoring of the New Calabar River. The New Calabar River is a river that is on the eastern flank of the Niger Delta that empties into the Atlantic Ocean. And I discovered that, I did that as part of my research as an undergraduate of the University of Port Harcourt. And I discovered that heavy metals that we call, things we call pollutants, like lead, like chromium, like cadmium, were very present in that river in large quantities. Okay. And this is very deleterious to both human health
but that was why the commission was given enough funds.
That is what, you cannot, there can never be any end. There can never be an end to funding. And those who are managing, those who are operating the NDDC today, those who operate it, those who manage it, will tell you that for instance, the practical reason for what I just said now is the fact that as we speak, most of the scholars, the beneficiaries of the NDDC scholarship scheme, are on the streets of London. Some are on the streets of Scotland. Their tuition has not been paid.
Yeah, but the federal government has just ordered that the commission should pay.
That order came from the Mr. President last week Tuesday.
Yes.
As we speak, today is another Tuesday. 7 working days after, the fees have not still been paid, because I'm in touch with the scholars. I'm in touch with the beneficiaries of that scheme. And so those who are operating the NDDC today, those who are managing the resources there, are still complaining that it is because there are no funds, that they need close to $7 million to pay off those bills, and that they don't have it.
They don't have it because the fund.
That is what they claim.
Because the fund,
assuming
were embezzled, or they don't have it because the federal government did not give them the fund.
Let me answer you. Assuming they had not frittered away billions of naira,
exactly,
they would have saved enough.
Good.
They would have had enough to have paid the tuition fees of those scholars.
All right, let me come to you, Alhaji. I know you may have something to say about the Niger Delta Commission. And I wouldn't ask you to appraise the commission or judge it. I will still throw that question to him to appraise it or judge it. But looking at the Niger Delta Commission, we also have the Northeastern Commission now, which is operational or have been funded to take off. Would you say that we truly would continue with this kind of commission where the fund released to them are embezzled?
Well, in the case of Niger Delta, whom we have a case with it now, I see no reason the region will be underdeveloped,
okay,
or environmentally
degraded.
Degraded. I can see no reason, because they have 13% derivation fund given to the state governors, plus their grant, their legitimate grant from the federal account. They have the NDDC. They have a dedicated ministry. These three organs all are money, incoming money organs. So with these three organs, I see no reason, if not because of corruption, the region will be down. Because the problem is not lack of funds. The problem is not right legislation. But the problem is that lack of supervision from the authority. You see, in Nigeria...
Which of the authorities?
The federal government.
And what about the commission itself, the ministry itself?
Yeah. Ministry and commission are under the federal government directly. Mr. President is controlling everything, and he will assign duty to other organs to either supervise it or check it or checkmate it. So what we are liking in Niger Delta case, you know, since the days of Ken Sarawiwa, of blessed memory, you know, the region has been suffering a lot from very poor people and very poor environment. They have been fighting for it. And government after government have introduced measures to tackle that that condition. During late President Umar Musa Yar'Adua, he created the Ministry of Niger Delta, dedicated entirely to monitor the event in Niger Delta. But what happened? The story didn't change. Still, the people are crying. The militants are coming up to fight for their own right. So I believe the problem is that the federal government under the president, whoever might be, either President Muhammad Buhari or any incoming president after in 2023, they're supposed to be checking these organs where there are a lot of funds being pumped into them twice in a year. Forensic auditing, proper auditing. But you see, the problem with Nigeria, once you appoint and legislate an organ, you just take your eyes and your face off the organs. They will be running as a private organization, reaping the profit and embezzling the fund. So we need a proper supervision from the presidency.
Okay, good. Before we go on a quick break, I would like to ask you how the youth of the Niger Delta, those especially the militant, could you say how much of them benefited from the commission in terms of training abroad and so on against militancy and a kind of streetwise? How many of them could you say the commission actually lifted out of that particular situation?
Well, fortunately, we have another agency under the supervision of the president. That's the Presidential Amnesty Program. That the Amnesty Office handles or is dedicated to handling issues that pertains to the ex-agitators. And so that office has all the information about. I'm aware that they carry out trainings, they have sent those ex-agitators abroad and all that. That agency also has its own challenges, but that's not the subject for discussion. So, but I am just trying to confirm to you that there is an agency that handles trainings for ex-agitators.
Okay. All right. Well, it has been Darlington Nwaju and is a comrade and Alhaji Mamon Saleh on Spectacle on Television Nigerian today discussing the Niger Delta Development Commission and other regional development, whether they are to be scrapped or not. Alhaji, I'll come to you to ask whether we further the course of other regional development. But we will go into the second story, which is what Issa Sage said about the presidential panel probing Magu, the former acting chairman of the EFCC. Please take a look at that story, and when we come back, we analyze it in the studio. Sage fought composition of panel probing Magu. An eminent professor of law, Issa Sage San, on Monday faulted the composition of the panel probing Ibrahim Magu, the acting chairman of Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC. He believes the former president of the Court of Appeal and chairman of the panel, Issa Salami, is the only person without a vested interest in the team. Sage said, I criticized the Salami panel for taking evidence from the accusers behind Magu's back and for not giving him the petitions against him in advance of his defense. Also, from the reports we read, the panel is packed with representatives of the DSS, the Ministry of Justice, and others from security agencies. These are also his accusers. Justice Salami appears to be the only neutral person on the panel, Sage said. The Supreme Court of the Golden Age era once condemned these in strong terms in Chief Gani Fahimi versus the Legal Practitioners of Disciplinary Committee of 1985, paragraph 2 of the NWLR, page 7 and page 300, has come here quickly for your assured condemnation. But I believe that the Honorable Justice Salami, who has a huge and impeccable reputation as a man of integrity, will not permit any injustice to occur in spite of the above composition of the panel. Sage clarified a report in which he was quoted to have said that Magu may never be prosecuted. He said, the headline of that report is falsely and deliberately designed to give that impression. But on page 28 of the paper, it is clearly shown that the maker of that statement is an official of the presidency who wants to remain anonymous. It is clear that the paper dishonestly implied that I made that statement in order to boost sales at my expense. This is clearly unethical. What I said was that Magu could not be prosecuted before the Salami report is out, and that Malami's allegations are just what they are, allegations in a petition. I added that allegations must be investigated in order to determine their veracity and the issue of whether they could be used as a basis for building up evidence. No one is prosecuted or on unverified allegations, as the People's Democratic Party wanted. Otherwise, it would be a lost cause from the very beginning. I made it clear that Malami's petition was just the beginning of a process that could lead to prosecution if solid evidence is established upon investigation. I did not say Magu may not be prosecuted. I am not privy to the politics of the presidency. That was from the Daily Independent, unnamed source in the presidency. All right. That was a situation between the presidential panel investigating Magu and Issa Sage Alaji, this I will come to you. How would you say that what Issa Sage said is an eminent personality in the society, and he said apart from Justice Salami, the rest of the panelists investigating Magu are just to indict him? Could you say that Magu should be justified of the crime allegedly say that he has committed?
Well, the police and the DSS are the two organs of government whom gather information on individual after investigating how he ran an organization or how he is managing his life. These two organs has to be a strong part of the composition of any investigative panel or commission. So the composition whereby the police and the DSS are heavily numbered in the commission, I don't see anything wrong with it.
Okay.
And the commission is headed by a senior justice in the past of Mr. Salami. So I feel Issa Sage didn't get it right there.
Okay.
The police are the people whom will put across to the court in a legal matter the case they are charging Mr. A, or to a commission of inquiry what they are charging Mr. B. The judges and the lawyers don't know what had happened. So the main responsibility of prosecuting an individual, putting across an evidence, lies on the shoulders of the police and the DSS. Like how EFCC does, they will gather the information whom EFCC, most of them are police officers. So they will gather the information about a person, then they will interview him, give him the right of defending himself. Then they will put the case across to the court.
But this time they didn't present the evidence before him. They went through his back, according to Sage, to give justice the panel the evidence they have against him, and only to bring the DSS and the policemen and judge him from the fact that the background history we have about the Nigerian police. Don't forget that most of the times, even as you drive through your roads, you discover that they could easily be induced. Won't you say that Sage is perhaps 50% right?
Well, you see, we don't have an alternative to the police. No matter what allegation on the police or the DSS, we don't have an alternative. If we have a cleaner police, that will be better. But we have to rely on those policemen to prosecute and put across the court or commission of inquiries their allegation on a person. You see, so I believe these allegations on Mustafa Magu, the police and the DSS, or rather the commission of inquiry under Justice Salami, they have to give him what they are charging him. Then let him prepare, take a lawyer. He has the right of defending himself.
Exactly.
No matter the charges. No matter the charges. So let them give him what they are charging him. So. Let him go through it, give him enough time, 2 weeks, 1 week, and so on. And then let him recruit a lawyer or a group of lawyers to defend him, rather than bringing the evidence behind the door and put it across on Justice Salami's table.
Okay.
And I believe Justice Salami is not a new judge. He will not agree with that. He has to give Mr. Mustafa Magu a chance to defend himself.
Okay, good. Comrade Darlington, I know you would want to say one or two things about the probe of the former EFCC chairman, Magu, on this case, judging from what Issa Sage said, that the panel is perhaps not composed with minds that could discharge true justice.
Well, I want to add that outside the fact that he made, I think that is his observation, if you ask me. But I was thinking that someone from the NFIU the National Finance Intelligence Unit,
Unit.
and the NIA, which is the intelligence organization of this country, should have been availed to that particular panel in order to get a potpourri of opinions, because some of the allegations have to do with monies funneled abroad and all that.
Especially the one laundered by a pastor.
Allegedly. Yes, so I was thinking that we should have gotten the wherewithal, the knowledge, the input from that those two critical sectors of the security intelligence community, in order to help, douse the fears of people like Professor Isse Sagi, and also myself, because you must justice is a three-way thing.
Okay.
And because it's a three-way thing, the man who is being accused deserves to have fair hearing. So let justice be done and be seen to be done. This was a man who was appointed to go catch all the thieves in Nigeria. Mm-hmm. And so when you put him on the spotlight, don't also forget that the image of the country is also at stake. You have put the image of the country, and indeed the anti-corruption fight of this administration, you put it to test. Exactly. By trying to query the activities of Mr. Magu. So that's my thinking.
Now, how would you rate all this expose? Could you say the administration of President Muhammadu Buhari and that of the APC are genuine in their fight against corruption?
Well, to the best of my assessment, I believe in the first instance, Mustafa Maguso's name was taken to the Senate and they rejected him. Maybe twice, I believe.
Yes.
Twice. The Senate rejected him. But Mr. President Muhammadu Buhari, insisted that he needs that man.
Yes.
I don't know what was his background check on Mustafa Magu. And now he has disgraced him. He has failed that trust on him. And I believe the issue of APC government on their fight against corruption, as they have been saying, personally, I feel they are not fighting the fight in a proper way. There are a lot of allegations on the inner circle of the president, the ministers, like Justice Mr. Malani, the Justice Minister.
Even today, he has written to the president to clear himself on the allegation of corruption.
I read it.
But if it were to be the era of other parties, would all those things come out to the glaring of the public?
It does. It does. I could remember during President Olusegun Obasanjo, a lot of people have been exposed, and the president have taken a step to tackle it.
Okay.
Like the IGP, the former IGP, Mustafa
Yes.
Tafa.
Yes.
Tafa Balogun.
Yeah.
He was jailed on 100 billion naira allegation. He was disgraced, handcuffed and so on and so forth. But this government, I believe, is soft on their intimates. They're intimate people. Like the case of Malemi, he said he was a rich man before he becomes a minister. Fine and good. Why is a declaration form with the Code of Conduct Bureau, where all the necessary people to understand that the hotel he has built, the houses he has bought, this, does he own them period to the ministership appointment? That's number one. Secondly, like the Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, Hajia Sadiya Umar, there are allegations on her. She spent over $500 million naira on feeding school children while schools are closed during the COVID-19 lockdown. So these are allegations for the president to clean himself and to make the public understand he has a clean slate, institute a very powerful team to investigate this allegation and let the report of the allegation or the result of the investigation made public. not kept in silence.
All right. Thank you very much, Alhaji Mamon Saleh, for coming on Spectacle. And I would love us to touch briefly on Edo Goba Po, because we are seeing that the Titans are about to clash, and we wonder if this clash is going to be a war without bloodshed or a noble war of ideology. Comrade, what would you say about Edo politics? You saw Shomole and your wiki. Yes, your wiki is saying that Shomole said it's going to be like a do or die affairs. Do you think that Shomole is poised to doing that?
I think that absolutely. We do not play politics of ideas in this part of the world. That is, and this is the obvious fact. And so, because people party, you can't because it's people that make up the parties. Yeah. What you have as party is mere vehicle. It's the people that makes up these parties, and those in the various parties, PDP, APC, they do not have ideologies. They do not base their politicking on ideologies. That is why you see that somebody who has worked or who is well known in the circles of the National Union of Road Transport Workers, the Agberos, could be picked and made and given an appointment. And so that is the kind of politics we see in Nigeria. We've not grown, and I pray we will grow. And I will borrow or adapt one of the phrases from Weep Not Child, written by Ngugi wa Thiong'o. And that is that you and I must put faith in hope.
We must put faith in hope. That is a good one. On your last take on Edo politics, especially towards the 19th Goba poll coming soon, clash of the Titan, or we are going to witness politics without bloodshed?
I don't believe so.
Okay.
The politics and the Goba election in Edo, I believe it will be it will be one of the most dangerous elections from 1999 to date. So I call on the president and the police and all law enforcement agencies to put their head together, put a lot of manpower to protect innocent lives.
Okay.
Yes, it will be dangerous.
It will be dangerous.
Yes.
So you think that the police, the army, when deployed, will adhere strictly to the rule of law and respect to human rights?
I believe so. You see, the problem is that even if we don't have, as I said earlier, we don't have an alternative to our Nigerian police.
Okay.
They are the only legally backed organs that will enforce a law, that will coerce the people to obey a law. So we don't have any option.
Do they need to be coerced to obey the law? And what do you think should be alternative to the Nigerian police?
At the moment, no.
No.
Really, at the moment, no.
It's okay.
Yes.
So it's obvious that definitely there might be crisis.
There will be, certainly. Because Oshimole was former governor of the state and chairman of the party. Mr. Obaseki is the current governor and backed by PDP and Mr. Wiki for governor of Rivers State. So it will be a very, very serious fight.
And comrade, talking about Wiki, he's talking tough from Rivers State about he will not allow rigging of Edo election. How is he smelling the rat that there will be rigging? After all, Basiki is sitting an incumbent governor.
Well, ordinarily I wouldn't love to make comments about the governor of Rivers State.
Okay.
I wouldn't, and because I do not share in his views. I do not subscribe to most of his opinions, and so if I say anything, it will end up being injurious to his person. So I prefer not to.
You rather be quiet about it. And on your last note, the case of before Akpabio, would you say the expose that
Akpabio made about the NDDC and the persons indicted for corruption, he exonerated himself, or he could be implicated.
Now, about that, I will quickly say that we already have a forensic auditor on ground, Olumiyiwa Bashiru. Even though I have my fears about getting a colorless forensic auditor who has no pedigree, I'm sorry to say so. However, I want to believe, like I earlier said, I want to put faith in hope in the Nigerian project. I want to believe that this auditor will rise above board and try to swim above the waters, because if you have a process that is faulty ab initio, you will likely have an end product or a result that will also be faulty. And so, about the forensic audit, I would like Mr. Akpabio and the rest of the management team to allow the auditor do his job and come up with a report. It's been more than 9 months. A pregnant woman has given birth since Mr. President ordered that forensic audit. A pregnant woman has given birth. If a pregnant woman is 9 months and beyond and has not given birth, it calls for concerns. Yeah. And so the Mr. President's order is beyond the 9 months, and we are thinking, people like us are beginning to think.
What instigated the order of Mr. President? Was it Akpabio that said, okay, look, so thing is happening in the NDDC, I want, in order whether to exonerate him or implicate him?
I am not aware if he instigated Mr. President to carry on. What Mr. President did, his position about the NDDC, that there should be a probe. Most of the stakeholders in the region support 101%
about the probe.
Yes, the hues and cries you hear started coming out when stakeholders now noticed that the police who was appointed or nominated to go catch the thief has started dipping his hands and even legs into the thief. And so there was no way, in my analogy, there is no way you employ a janitor for this studio, and the janitor ends up messing up the studio instead of cleaning it up. You get the janitor sacked. Exactly. And so we felt that here is an interim management committee that had a single objective, a single mandate, a single term of reference, which was to supervise a forensic audit. Yes. And this particular management
interim committee
has ended up
in walloping
because from all the available evidence, there is no way they can extricate themselves from the web of corruption
in the NDDC.
It is not possible.
Anyway, thank you for coming on Spectacle, Comrade Darlington Nwaju, the spokesperson of the Niger Delta Commission advocate, isn't it?
Niger Delta Rights Advocate.
Right advocate.
When we hear commission, people are skeptical.
Okay. You don't want to be part of the commission. Okay. Alhaji Maman Saleh, welcome to Spectacle once again.
Thank you.
And thanks for being here.
It's a pleasure.
I hope when I call you next time you will be available.
Anytime, please.
Thank you very much. And this is where Spectacle will stop on Television Nigerian. Please do well to follow us on our social media platforms. Drop your comments, and if you want advertorial, the numbers are displayed on your screen. We could handle them to you. We'll beat the reach of the media for your advertorial, your antecedents, and what have you. And I have been Daniel Atai, and God bless you. See you tomorrow. Welcome to Spectacle on Television Nigeria. I am your host, Daniel